Hello and welcome to Matt's Garage, part 2 of my Neoru build, which is a 2000 Dodge Neon on a 99 Subaru Forester platform. So go check out part 1 of this series if you haven't seen it yet. That's where we cut the bodies off both cars and graft the body down onto the Subaru platform. So we got a nice fall snowstorm brewing here. Luckily, I moved the Neoru inside last night. Big thanks to my wife and Nash who helped out with that. 2.5 days later, I'm ready to get back to work on the Neoru. I'm just fitting in the top of the door here. So I've got this piece goes in here, and I'm just trying to get the door lined up. So what I'm doing is just taping it in place actually. I've got this area all cut up. I'm actually going to pull it up to meet that, so the door is going to slope up here. I just got that tacked together there, and I've got it tacked on the inside now too. And what that did is beef up the whole thing. You can see the body line still good all around there. And look at this. So yeah, it's a little clunky still. It's just tacked together, but you can see everything lines up nicely. Help guys, I'm on fire. I had this little fire start right here. Sort of stamped it out and I guess it fell down into the lining. And there's those welds all done. I'm just getting ready to grind them off here. It's another day on the Neoru. I got the window tacked in last night. And I'm not sure what to do with these louvers yet. I decided the louvers had to come off there because I didn't want these holes behind there. So I just finished welding this all up. So I'm just going to grind that off and then I'll do the final cuts to fit that window in there. I'm just tacking this edge together and I'm going to put you guys up on the tripod for a minute. This is how you weld sheet metal. So now what I like to do every so often is run over this with a wire wheel. So I'm just looking at the camera, and that weld there took me 33 minutes, if anyone's wondering. That's the actual time for it. There it is, the finished results. Well, I got to grind it, but I just wanted to show you how the weld looks. And that did take almost a full hour just to adjust that, so it took twice as long as welding it. So I just cut that piece out of the hood there. This is going to be my panel for the door here. Basically it's going to come right over the window, and you can see it's got that nice curvature in there to try and match the curvature that the Neon had. I still got to just weld up those gaps there and make that a solid lip. When it's all in place, this will be against the glass, and then I'll just glue that to the glass with the urethane. I just primed those areas. So there's a little progress update for you. See that? It has a nice shape to it. It has kind of some body to it and it curves back. And there it is all welded in. Turned out really nice. So I'm just making this next trim piece for the around the top of the window frame. Okay, and then I'm going to come back and just bend it a bit more. And I'll keep going along until I get to the maximum that the pliers can bend. From there I'm going to take over with the hammer here. And there we go, you can see that lines up pretty good. I got to finesse that corner a little bit just to make it flow a little better. I got the panel all done. I boxed in that end, and I put a few more tacks around here just to make sure that the window's stabilized. Well, Big Yeller's just lending a helping hand here, and we're getting the bumper moved from out back. It's a hefty bumper. Guys, I just finished harvesting the last of the parts off of the Neon and the Subaru parts heap. Looking a little sad, but the other portion of it that's in the shop is looking extra good, so that's okay. I got the left side top of the door all done, just the same as I did on the right. And then I'm just coming down here and working on this area. I've got the bottom corner sectioned in now. I still got to fix the rust, of course. And I already did a bunch of rust repair around the wheel well here years ago, and it still seems to be holding up, so we'll leave that alone. Inside the door, of course, because I cut the door in half, I had to cut the impact beam in half, so I took the impact beam from the Subaru and I put it full length. And then I also took this Subaru roof beam and I put it in there. These areas here were way up here before. I cut a bunch out of here, and then I'm welding them right to the window frame there. That'll be a solid weld across there. I just made this patch here to repair the rust area. I've got to make some inner pieces here too. The rust was really bad here. So I've got the inner structure tacked in there now. You can see that. We're just getting that patch tacked in there. It's getting a lot colder out, so I built this little tent. I just got a couple electric heaters running in here. Kind of a small space in here, but here's what I'm working on. You can see the seam. I fabricated this all in the corner here. I'm still working on getting that all ground and everything, so it looks a little ugly. Trying to get this done. Just get this dog leg built in and all this structure. I put a piece of 16 gauge right in here. I slid it in there between the Subaru layer and the Neon layer as a transition piece, because things didn't line up perfectly to the point where I could just drill holes and weld the lip together. I'm all done in the jam here. I still got to grind all my welds, but I wanted to show you while the welds were still visible. So this is actually where the bottom of the door ends up, is out here. And as you can see, the Subaru rocker cover doesn't come out that far. I'm just going to slice it to go around this. I'm just getting ready to actually weld in the piece on the back side, and you can't really see it, but I sealed all in here with rust paint all on the back side of all my welds and stuff. And then I made up this piece here, and that's the inner piece that goes in behind there. I've got that dog leg all in there. Well, there we go, guys. That's all the plating for the trunk area and everything all cut. So just got to prep all the edges and get it welded in there. I'm pretty much done with the trunk here. I've been actually grinding welds, but the last thing, and this is something I've wanted to do for a while, because when I pack my snow blade, like to go down the highway or whatever, I always put it in the back of the car. Here, I'll drop a picture of what that looks like. The problem is the lip where the seal goes here is too thin, and it keeps folding over and getting all chewed up from the blade. I'm all finished up here, so here's a final overview. I got everything all ground up nice and basically ready for primer. I just gotta scuff all the shiny paint in here. There we go, that looks pretty good, eh? Sorry, I still have my mask on. I'm actually fabbing up some new rocker panels / rock sliders. These are real thick-walled water pipes that I have laying around. This one actually used to be a TV antenna pole at one point in its life. Down there in the rocker panel area, I've cleaned that all up. It's all shiny, clean metal now. So what I'm doing, I've made up these pieces of 16 gauge here, and they're all drilled. And they will go, I will mount one on each one of these 1 1/4 inch thick-walled pipes, tubing, whatever you want to call it. They are legit water pipe. You may have noticed I have the car all on blocks now. There's no wheels on it because I took my wheels into the tire shop, my favorite tire shop, my local Fountain Tire in Rocky Mountain House here. Awesome place to deal with. And they set me up with a new set of these Goodyear Ultra Grips. I've had these tires before and they are awesome. They really work well in all conditions. I've run them through the summer and everything. One thing right after I got them, I posted a picture up on my Facebook group. And Aaron from 802 Garage commented, and he's like, "Are those Volkswagen wheels or what?" And he's like, he knows his Subarus. So I came out here and I flipped one of these rims over, and you can clearly see they are Subaru rims. It says Subaru right there. And over here, it actually says made in Belgium. That maybe this is like a European rim that was somehow imported. Maybe it came over on a car that was imported and somehow ended up on my Forester. Anyways, I went with a bit bigger 215/70 R15. These are about 1.5 inches taller, and I had one mounted up there. No clearance issues at all. So I've got both sides made up the same. I've got that all spotted in place. I cut a bunch of these pieces of flat bar, and you can see they fit in there just perfect. I've spotted all the spots, and then between all the spots I just did a little stitch. This is all the sheathing to go over top of the rocker support there. Like, that's basically the brace that goes behind the new rocker panel. And then tie my door pillar into there. And so that's what this is all about. I cut this as a template. You can see I've also made up these pieces. I've been making up everything in duplicate so that when I get to the other side, the pieces are all made, and I'll have a guide as to how it all goes together according to this side. So this goes in here. This is a piece of 16 gauge. And that way, when we get our plating over top of it, we'll have something strong to fasten into. That's going to go over top in there. To show you how I bend this piece of 10 gauge over and put that nice flange on it there. You can see I got all that plating in there, and the front face of the pillar is pretty well tied in. So I just wanted to give you a look at this before I covered it up, because I still have another layer to go over. Like I said, it's multi-layer. You can see I've actually got the under panel, the bottom side panel on there. So I just got to put the sill plates down here to come here and meet it. So here's a close-up of what that looks like. You can see after grinding, it turned out pretty good. It's not flawless or anything, but I just wanted to show you guys that rear piece welded in quickly before I ground all the welds. You can see I solid welded that right to that piece of 10 gauge there. So I'll get that all ground off. I also put this little patch in here. I'm all done. I just got to sand this in about 100 grit, 180 grit. And then I got a little body work to do right here. But past this point it's just going to be paint all along here. Even this piece that I just put in, you can see that turned out real nice and smooth. And I'm actually going to move on to the roof right now. You can see I've already got it joined together there, and I had to spread it there to match up the width because I actually sectioned out. I took about 4 inches out of there. So this is one of the rear roof beams from the Subaru. I just took a section out of there and shortened it up. It was 7 1/4 I had to remove out of there, and then I'm actually going to be putting a piece of 16 gauge over here. As for this pillar, I never showed inside what I did because the boggings of these neon pillars, you can tell in the crash test, the bogging of the pillar always folds in. It's really weak in this area. There's only actually 2 layers of metal originally, so you can see I've gone ahead and added a plate in each corner there, and then I've got that plate between them there, and then it's tied into this piece, which is a piece of the original Subaru pillar. And down here I also went above and beyond and added an extra layer of 18 gauge over each side here, and then you can see I've welded that really good down in there back to the inner rocker of the Subaru. Okay, and I'll just quickly show you that with the strip of 16 gauge on it. And then I've been working on the center beam here. I had to cut it down a little bit too. The Subaru seemed to have the wider roof. You can see what a heavy beam that is. So I'm just making these plates to go over where the ends of the beam are. So these are 16 gauge plate. In this area you can see I've ground off all the paint, and you can see right here as well I'll be doing some work there. So I'm just getting ready to weld that beam in there. You can see I've got it held up with a jack. I'm gonna stitch that end up a little bit. I just ran a wire wheel over these welds and put a quick coat of primer on them to seal them all up. This just fits in right like that. I'm going to add some stitching around the edges. You can see I got to bend them down a bit. There we go, that was the last of the stitching there. So now the factory cover should fit over here nicely and everything. I'm just finishing up getting these all fitted into the car. You can see they're not flat pieces. They've got a bit of a curve to them to fit up on the inside there. Actually, this is all for the center. This goes on the windshield support beam. So I just grabbed my other panel that I already bent up yesterday, and so we want to duplicate this one, but it's a mirror image. Well, so far I've got a couple of these plates welded in. You can see that. And then there's the front one there. It's got the holes in it for the grab handle. I put that landing plate there basically to beef up the front beam here. And also I'm going to tie into the center beam. So now I'm going to be dealing with this hole now too, because now that I've strengthened up the center of the beam, and you can see it's got this really heavy plating coming into the corner, but right here is paper thin. Like, look at that. I can literally pull it down with my finger. So these brackets just come up here. There's a close-up. Somewhere around a dozen pieces and hundreds of plug welds later, it's all done. So you can see I've got that whole side over there all braced up. This whole front beam has been braced. That center support is from the Subaru, but I did beef it up with a piece of 18 gauge on the back side. And the back area, I've got this big wide piece of 18 gauge I bent up for the center there, and it ties all the beams together. Getting that seam all back together, it's not as pretty as I'd like because I overcut a little bit here. So I'm just working on the right hand side rocker panel right now. I'm not going to bother filming that because I already did on the left, but I'll just show you my workspace here. I got the tent set up, and the space heater is just going to blow heat into it, and I'm going to work away in comfort there. And I've got that roof seam is all ready for body filler now. Probably can't see it very well on camera there, but so I'm just working on bending this lip in here. And you can see I've got the pillar all plated. I'm ready to put the cap on the top here as soon as I get this lip all welded down. And there we go, I just ran the wire wheel over that. And this end piece here flares out a little bit and meets with the dog leg that I have to build. As I finish up the right side rocker panel, I just wanted to show that it's all exactly the same as the left side. Well, it's New Year's Eve here, and I'm just working away on the Neoru still. So I actually made up this template. And what that does is it locates this edge here. So I'll just show you how that works. You can see I've got it labeled with the latch end and the outside. And for this side I have to hold it upside down. And so now I can take it around to the other side and flip it. As you can see, we're now on the right side of the car. So here's what I mean. I'm going to line this up in between these two seams here. And so now I've made this panel. And this is the beginning of the dog leg. So now you can see how I'm lining that up. I've got the door on there. This piece has to move down, and it has to be trimmed quite a bit to fit in there properly. I ended up making some pretty good progress last night. I got the inner lip bent on the dog leg there, as you can see. did a bit more grinding there, and then I got bored with that and I moved on to the field door relocation project. That's the Subaru fuel filler right here is where it is. So we're trying to relocate the field door to suit. I gotta seal this in because this is open to the wheel well, as you can see. I'm just basically sealing in around it. So there, that is all done. I'm just starting to prep the edges to weld in the actual field door, and then I'll have quite a bit to fill in around it. Well, there we go. I've got it all welded in. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. And there is a body line here, and I put it into this panel, but it doesn't continue into the field door because the field door used to sit down here below the body line, and also that body line tapers off back here. So what I'm going to do, I'll put a little filler in here and just taper it off gradually. I've actually dressed all the welds and they came out really nice, but there are a few low spots, and actually that's because I moved the door up and it didn't really fit the shape of the panel anymore, but I didn't want to bend the frame around and have it so that the door didn't fit properly. So now that the door's in and all the movement's over, now I want to correct that shape basically. So we're just going to put a little pressure, and I'm actually not going to be using the slide too much on this one because it's not doesn't require much of a pull. So I'm just going to be mostly putting pressure on the low spot and then hammering on these two high areas around it. So we will give it a couple taps. And there we go, that's what that all looks like. I just got to go around and grind all these off now. So there's a final overview of that metalwork. All ready for filler now. So there's the initial patch that I put in the wheel well. And then up here, I put some heavy plating. This is 16 gauge here. And it joins the two pieces of card. This is Neon metal out here and Subaru metal in here. And this is the main flange between the two. So I'm skipping ahead a bit here and just doing a little body work. So there we go. So normally the rule with body filler is you don't want to go over a 1/4 inch thick. And that's even considered pretty extreme. And then up on the roof here, you can see I've got this side of the roof taken care of. I still gotta do a bunch of sanding and grinding on the other side. Thanks a lot for watching Matt's Garage. Make sure you stay tuned for part 3. We're gonna put the front end on and finish up the paint and body work in part 3. So thanks a lot for watching and have yourself a great day.